when you're thinking when you started out and you see him and he looks kind of almost exactly like you do?
He's got a few projects and he's getting some kind of activity, and I hope he has as much luck and fun doing it as I did at that stage.
When you hear the name Eastwood, one figure instantly comes to mind: Clint Eastwood, the legendary Hollywood icon. But behind the shadows of his towering legacy,
So when you see Scott now, your son, he looks so much like...
In the inward looking outward, I'm not looking back inward.
another Eastwood has been quietly carving his own remarkable path: his son, Scott Eastwood. With striking looks, undeniable talent, and a growing list of credits, Scott is far more than just Clint's lookalike heir. Today, we uncover the new and fascinating details about Scott Eastwood that will surprise, inspire, and reveal the man stepping into and beyond his father's legacy. Carrying the Eastwood legacy into the future. When people hear the name Eastwood, their minds instantly picture the legendary Clint Eastwood, the tough cowboy, the fearless cop, the man whose presence defined an entire era of Hollywood. But today, that name carries a new story, one that belongs to his son, Scott Eastwood. With his sharp looks, natural charisma, and undeniable acting skills, Scott is carving out his own place in Hollywood. And while it's tempting to simply call him Clint's son, that description no longer does justice to what he has become. Scott Eastwood grew up surrounded by the bright lights of Hollywood, yet he didn't ride into the industry on his father's coattails. Instead, he faced the heavy weight of expectation that came with being Clint Eastwood's child. Many sons of icons crumble under that kind of pressure. The comparisons, the constant questioning of whether they're talented or just privileged. But Scott chose a different path. He embraced the challenge, using his father's legacy not as a shadow to hide behind, but as a foundation on which to build his own career. This mindset is what sets him apart. Instead of running from the Eastwood name, Scott wears it proudly while working tirelessly to prove he can stand on his own. Every role he takes, every performance he gives, carries the silent question: can he live up to the Eastwood legacy? And time after time, he's answering with a confident yes. His work ethic, combined with his raw passion for storytelling, shows that he isn't just here to play the son of a legend. He's here to create his own legend. Hollywood has taken notice. Casting directors, producers, and fans alike have seen Scott's growth, not just as an actor, but as a leading man in his own right. His versatility has become his secret weapon. From action-packed blockbusters where he mirrors the toughness once synonymous with his father, to more intimate roles where he reveals a softer, more emotional side. This ability to switch gears shows a depth that many didn't expect, and it's quickly turning him into one of the most watchable talents of his generation. But what makes Scott's journey even more intriguing is the way he balances respect for his father with a determination to evolve the family legacy. Clint Eastwood built his name on grit, silence, and sheer presence. Scott, while carrying hints of that trademark Eastwood toughness, adds a modern twist. He blends strength with vulnerability, determination with charm. He's not trying to replace the old Eastwood. He's building a new version for a new era. As Hollywood keeps a close eye on him, one truth stands out. The Eastwood story is far from finished. It's not a closed chapter of Hollywood's golden past. It's a living, breathing legacy that's now entering its next act. And Scott Eastwood, with his ambition, his growing fan base, and his refusal to back down from the spotlight, is the one leading the charge. The Eastwood name once symbolized the old guard of Hollywood toughness. Today, thanks to Scott, it represents something more: evolution, resilience, and a promise that the best is yet to come. While Scott tried his best to cope with the pressure of sustaining the legacy of the Eastwood name, a Hollywood royalty, was he able to rise above the heavy tides? Let's find out. Born into stardom. Scott Eastwood's journey into Hollywood wasn't a coincidence or a lucky break. It was destiny written long before he took his first step on a film set. Born to legendary actor, director, and cultural icon Clint Eastwood, Scott entered a world where the spotlight wasn't just a dream. It was part of everyday life. From the beginning, he was surrounded by the magic of cinema. Scripts lying on tables, stories being brought to life on screen, and the energy of Hollywood buzzing around him like a constant background hum. For many, growing up in the shadow of a world-famous parent can feel overwhelming. The towering reputation of Clint Eastwood, an actor known for his rugged presence, a director admired for his artistry, and a figure respected across decades, was a legacy almost too heavy for anyone to live up to. Children of stars often choose to distance themselves from such expectations, fearing they will never measure up or simply wishing to create a quieter, more ordinary life. But Scott's response was different. He didn't run away from the weight of his father's name. Instead, he faced it head-on, determined not to let it define him, but to use it as motivation to prove himself. What makes Scott's story intriguing is his mindset. He wasn't content to just be Clint Eastwood's son, coasting through doors opened by his father's fame. He wanted to earn his own place, to work for the recognition, and to prove that his talent wasn't borrowed. It was real, it was his, and it deserved to be seen. His approach was grounded in humility and hard work. Early in his career, Scott took smaller roles, sometimes even using his mother's last name so he could audition without the weight of being an Eastwood. He understood that Hollywood can be quick to dismiss children of celebrities as privileged, undeserving, or simply riding on their family name. By removing the immediate connection, he forced casting directors and audiences to judge him on performance alone. This quiet determination reveals something important about Scott's character. He could have leaned on the Eastwood legacy as a crutch, but instead, he chose to see it as a challenge. To him, the name wasn't a shortcut. It was a standard to rise to. And with each role, whether in action-packed blockbusters or smaller, heartfelt dramas, he worked to show that his place in Hollywood wasn't an inheritance, but an achievement. The story of Scott Eastwood isn't just about Hollywood glamour. It's about resilience, ambition, and the hunger to create an identity that stands strong even in the shadow of greatness. While his father built an empire of unforgettable films and unforgettable characters, Scott has been busy shaping his own path, one that pays tribute to the Eastwood name while still being distinctly his own. In many ways, Scott Eastwood's rise serves as a reminder that while legacies can open doors, only determination and talent can keep them open. His journey proves that being born into the spotlight is one thing, but choosing to step into it with courage, humility, and purpose is what truly makes a star. What was growing up like in the Eastwood family? Was Scott's childhood a remarkable one for the Hollywood icon? Let's delve into the details of a childhood in the spotlight. A childhood shaped by legacy and determination. Scott Clinton Reeves, better known to the world as Scott Eastwood, was born on March 21, 1986, at the Community Hospital of the Monterey Peninsula in Monterey, California. His birth instantly connected him to Hollywood history, as he is the son of legendary actor and director Clint Eastwood and Jaslyn Reeves, a flight attendant whose life briefly intertwined with that of the silver screen icon. From the very beginning, Scott's family tree was fascinatingly complex. He grew up with one full sibling, his younger sister Catherine, born in 1988, but his family extended far beyond that. On his father's side, Scott is part of a much larger clan, with 6 half-siblings, each with their own story and place in Clint Eastwood's remarkable life. These include Laurie, born in 1954, Kimber, born in 1964, Kyle, born in 1968, Allison, born in 1972, Francesca, born in 1993, and Morgan, born in 1996. This blend of siblings across different decades gave Scott a unique family dynamic, tying him to multiple generations of Eastwoods. Scott's earliest years were spent in the picturesque town of Carmel by the Sea, a coastal community that his father once famously governed as mayor. There, he experienced a quiet childhood surrounded by natural beauty. But at the age of 10, his life took a new turn when he moved with his mother to Hawaii. The island years shaped him in different ways, exposing him to new cultures, landscapes, and a more laid-back lifestyle. After 4 years in Hawaii, Scott returned to California, ready to reconnect with the place that had first felt like home. He completed his secondary education at Carmel High School, a return that marked the beginning of his deeper integration into the state that had always been central to his family's legacy. Driven and ambitious, Scott continued his academic journey in Los Angeles, where he enrolled at Loyola Marymount University. The bustling city, alive with both opportunity and challenge, gave him the perfect backdrop to grow. In 2008, he proudly graduated with a degree in communications, a choice that reflected his interest in people, storytelling, and media, a foundation that would later serve him well in Hollywood. From Monterey to Hawaii, and finally Los Angeles, Scott's journey to adulthood mirrored a blend of quiet escapes and bold steps, preparing him for a future shaped by both his famous name and his own determination. Was Scott able to leverage on his father's name? Was the name enough to keep doors opened for him? Let's talk about Scott's efforts towards engraving his name in gold letterings. The struggle behind the spotlight. Unlike what many people assume, Scott Eastwood's rise to fame was never a story of easy privilege or shortcuts. On the surface, it may have seemed like being the son of Hollywood legend Clint Eastwood would open every door and erase every obstacle. After all, the Eastwood name carries decades of cinematic glory, respect, and influence. But Clint was not the kind of father who handed his children a ready-made life. Known for his strict discipline and tough love approach, Clint Eastwood was determined that his son would understand the value of hard work, humility, and persistence before ever stepping onto a film set. Instead of ushering Scott straight into Hollywood, Clint insisted that his son take on everyday jobs that most aspiring actors never associate with a glamorous career. Scott worked behind bars mixing drinks as a bartender, put on his gloves at dusty construction sites, and even parked cars as a valet to make ends meet. These jobs were not merely ways to earn a paycheck. They were life lessons. Each shift reminded Scott that respect must be earned, not assumed, and that no one, not even the son of an icon, could bypass the grind. But life outside the shadow of his famous father was not easy. The entertainment industry can be brutally unforgiving, and Scott quickly learned that a recognizable last name does not protect you from rejection. Casting directors turned him down, critics dismissed him as just Clint's kid, and opportunities seemed far scarcer than many outsiders imagined. Every audition was a battlefield where he had to prove that he wasn't simply relying on his father's reputation. He carried the heavy burden of comparison, constantly measured against Clint's legendary performances and towering presence in Hollywood. Yet instead of letting these obstacles crush him, Scott used them as fuel. Each rejection sharpened his determination, Each doubt strengthened his resolve. He embraced the challenges with resilience, understanding that true success must be earned, not inherited. He knew that if he wanted to be respected as an actor, he would need to show audiences and critics alike that his talent was authentic and his craft real. Over time, this relentless drive began to pay off. With every role, Scott demonstrated his ability to step out of his father's shadow and carve his own identity. His performances carried a raw energy, a mix of grit and vulnerability that drew fans to him. He wasn't just Clint Eastwood's son anymore. He was Scott Eastwood, an actor who had fought through rejection, hardship, and endless comparisons to stand on his own. Today, when fans watch Scott on screen, they see more than good looks or a famous name. They see the result of years of perseverance, sweat, and humility. They see a man who walked the long road, who took the blows and kept moving forward, and who built a career not on borrowed fame, but on his own undeniable talent. That journey, filled with grit and resilience, is what has shaped Scott Eastwood into the admired actor he is today. While he did not stop growing, Scott was eventually able to rise to stardom. How did Scott Eastwood catapult himself into the spotlight in Hollywood? Let's dig into the details. Breaking into the big screen. For years, people wondered if Scott Eastwood could ever escape the giant shadow cast by his legendary father, Clint Eastwood. The pressure of carrying such a famous last name in Hollywood is no small weight to bear. Many children of icons often get compared to their parents, and sometimes they are dismissed as copycats or beneficiaries of family privilege. But Scott's rise proved different. His breakthrough did not come from simply borrowing his father's reputation. It came from roles that required a balance of two powerful qualities: charm and toughness, the very traits that once made Clint Eastwood a towering figure on screen. In The Longest Ride, 2015, Scott captured hearts with his rugged yet vulnerable portrayal of a bull rider caught between danger and love. His performance carried a raw emotional honesty that made audiences sit up and notice. Here was an actor who could make you feel the intensity of a man risking his life in the arena, while also showing the tenderness of someone deeply in love. That balance of grit and sensitivity became a signature of Scott's acting style. Then came Pacific Rim, Uprising in 2018, where Scott took on a very different kind of challenge. This was not a romance, but a high-octane sci-fi adventure. He stepped into the role of a soldier tasked with saving the world from towering monsters. It was a part that demanded strength, presence, and the ability to hold his own alongside big special effects and larger-than-life battles. Scott delivered with confidence, proving that he could shine not just in heartfelt dramas, but also in action-heavy blockbusters. But perhaps the most intriguing step in his journey was working under the direction of his father in films like Gran Torino and Invictus. Many assumed Clint's involvement would overshadow Scott's presence. After all, Clint Eastwood is not only one of the most respected actors of his era, but also a masterful director. Yet Scott used these opportunities not as shortcuts, but as challenges to prove his worth. Rather than being swallowed up by his father's legend, he carved out moments that showed his individuality. His performances hinted at something deeper, an actor who respected the legacy, but refused to be defined only by it. Hollywood began to take note. Scott Eastwood was no longer just Clint's son. He was a performer in his own right, someone capable of commanding the screen with charisma, intensity, and a distinct style. Unlike many who struggle under the expectations tied to a famous surname, Scott embraced the challenge and used it as fuel. His roles revealed not just his father's influence, but also his personal touch, a blend of vulnerability, determination, and authenticity that audiences could connect with. Scott's story is not just about living up to a name, it is about rewriting what that name means in a new era of Hollywood. With every role he takes, Scott Eastwood proves he isn't simply echoing the past. He is building his own legacy, one performance at a time. What kind of life does Scott Eastwood live outside acting? Let's take a look at Scott's life outside appearing on the screen. A life beyond acting. What makes Scott Eastwood truly fascinating isn't just his good looks or the fact that he's the son of a Hollywood legend. It's how refreshingly grounded he remains, even while living under the spotlight. Unlike many celebrities who get swept up in the endless glamour of red carpets, luxury events, and constant attention, Scott seems determined to live life on his own terms. He doesn't just want to be seen as a movie star. He wants to be remembered as a man who embraced life with passion, courage, and authenticity. Away from the flashing cameras, Scott finds peace and joy in the simple yet thrilling adventures that keep him connected to reality. He is deeply passionate about surfing, a sport that perfectly mirrors his personality. Free-spirited, daring, and deeply in tune with nature. For him, riding the waves isn't just a hobby. It's a way to reset, to reconnect with himself, and to stay humble no matter how high the tides of fame may rise. Traveling is another love of his, and he often shares snapshots of his journeys on social media. Whether it's exploring rugged coastlines, wandering through remote towns, or immersing himself in new cultures, Scott embraces the world with curiosity and openness, showing fans a side of himself that's both adventurous and refreshingly down-to-earth. But perhaps the most intriguing part of Scott's character is his commitment to authenticity. Behind the charm of the Hollywood spotlight lies a man who values hard work and honesty above all. He doesn't pretend to be someone he's not, and he doesn't shy away from the challenges that come with carrying a famous last name. Instead, he channels those pressures into motivation, proving that success, for him, is about effort, integrity, and staying true to his values. What makes Scott stand out is this delicate balance. He is both a rising star in Hollywood and a man who doesn't let fame define him. He shows us that it's possible to chase big dreams while still holding on to the things that make us real: adventure, authenticity, and the courage to live life fully. And that, perhaps, is what makes him not just Clint Eastwood's son, but a fascinating individual in his own right. So, what do you think about Scott Eastwood's struggle? Do you think his father should have been more lenient with him? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.